Yeah, great to see everybody. Good to be back in Houston. A little bit colder than it usually is when I come down, but it's always special. Kicked off a very significant weekend last night, catching the U.S. Women's National Team play here in Shell Energy Stadium for the She Believes Cup. Especially proud to have two of our own from the Dash, and Jane Campbell, our legendary player, in goal, and Yasmin Ryan assisting on a goal. So it was a terrific night, and I think it showed what a great soccer community we have in Houston. Of course, excited about tomorrow night and our derby match to kick off the season for the Houston Dynamo. Our 20th season, if you haven't heard, important and one that we're celebrating in all sorts of ways. Very proud of the new players that we've brought in, and very optimistic for the season ahead, coming off two very strong seasons with consecutive playoff appearances, highlighted by a Western Conference Final and a U.S. Open Cup Championship in 2023, a points record for us in 2024, and want to just continue it. So with that, happy to open it up for questions.
Okay. Germán, start with you over there.
Yes, sir. Germán Benitez with Deportes USA. Just speak on the feeling of seeing two of your players have an impact on the national team last night. You know, an assist on a young star, and then Jane Campbell, a solid veteran. Just speak on the pride, or what do you feel when you see your players on the pitch in your home stadium have an impact on the national team?
Yeah, it's pride on so many levels. First, set aside any connection I have to this organization, to the Dash. As an American, as a U.S. soccer fan, it's great to see our women's national team here in Houston putting on the performance that they did yesterday. And then you layer on top of that the fact that you have our club legend in Jane Campbell starting as goalkeeper last night. Extraordinarily well-deserved and a great showing by her. And then our new addition in Yasmin Ryan, one of many new additions that we've made on the Dash to upgrade our roster, led by our new head of soccer in Angela and our new head coach in Fabrice. It's great to start seeing those results from them. And makes me really look forward to the year ahead for the Dash.
And then on the Dynamo side, what are your objectives or goals for this season? You mentioned the continuous improvements in the past 2 years, how the club has reached the playoffs, but what is the stage or the checkpoint you're trying to get to as an organization on year 3?
Yeah. And I've said this from the get-go, it's consistently competing for championships. Nobody is able to win, with rare exceptions, year after year. Nobody wins every year if you look at the 30-year history of the league. What I just addressed the players actually before coming out here, and I think this is an old saying, but one that's relevant for our club. You know, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. And I think we're trying to develop a pattern of sustained success here.
VEDA Communications with a quick question here. How optimistic are you about the 2025 season? We are very optimistic here, but what does it hear from you, sir?
With respect to the Dynamo and the
Both.
Yeah. Again, very optimistic, celebrating a significant anniversary for the 20th season for the Dynamo. Again, having the eyes of the state at the very least on us tomorrow in our Texas Derby, and then the eyes of the nation, if not the world, quickly thereafter hosting Inter Miami the following week, and looking forward to seeing this really well-built squad by Pat Onstad and Asher Mendelson get out there tomorrow and deliver a great season. Similarly on the Dash, very proud of the off-season roster build, the changes that we've made at the front office, and gives me great optimism, starting with yesterday's performance by some key members in Jane and Yasmin, that we can really give some momentum going into the season.
On the topic of the Dash, there's a report that the club is on the market. Are you just looking for minority investors, or are you looking to sell the club outright?
I would say we've initiated a strategic process to assess all alternatives. What is no secret in the NWSL is that there has been significant escalation in club values and significant interest in investing into the league. And so we, as ownership, have received numerous inbounds, and we wanted to, rather than continue to receive all of these ad hoc proposals, we wanted to bring order to the process and see what the market would reflect. So there's no set determination as to what that will yield, but we wanted to create an orderly process rather than just random outreach occurring really week after week.
Does a possibility exist that Houston could lose the dash?
I don't see any situation where that would occur.
Relocation?
Yeah, look, frankly speaking, there's not a relocation rule at the league level.
Do you have a timeline for getting that done, or is it just as you go?
Yeah, it's very early days. These things always take longer than one would think, and just the nuts and bolts of executing non-disclosure agreements with interested parties and the like. So it's super early days, and I don't have a concrete timeline.
Waldo, do you have one?
Yeah, when it pertains to the Houston Dynamo and all the roster changes that you guys have done, how content are you guys with the team you guys have to compete for the season and going forward? Is the window still open to possibly sign another big name?
So we're very excited by the additions and the changes that we've made, and I think we've brought in some really beneficial pieces to the roster, and Jack McGlynn, Nico Ladero, Michael Halliday, and the list goes on and on. Too many to really list here. The possibility does exist to bring in additional firepower. What we have learned based on a few years now doing this together in collaboration with Pat and Asher is that we don't want to do something hasty that will saddle us for the long term. If we're making a big decision like signing a new designated player, it has to be a methodical process, and there's no certainties, but we want to leave as little to chance as possible.
How much more could you open up the checkbook with the amount that you spend on Segal and Lawrence and Ali, right? How much more can the checkbook open up?
The funds are available. It is all a matter of, is the player the right fit for what we're trying to build here in the plan that Pat and Asher have.
Is there any information you can share to us about what type of player the Dynamo wants to bring?
I think Pat's made no secret that if the right DP10 is available, we'd like to bring that type of player in. Again, we don't want to do it in a rash manner just to fill the spot and then get burned by it long term. And so they are really scouring the landscape and doing it in a methodical manner to ensure that we get it right.
And then lastly, for me, the World Cup being next year, is there any changes going to happen at the training facility to have those national teams train at HSP?
I would say as the current state exists at HSP, we're more than prepared to host nations coming in for training. Similarly, match day -1 will be here at Shell Energy Stadium. Of course, there's going to be a handful of enhancements that we're going to make, but I'm very pleased with our ability to host it today if necessary.
On the dash side, end of last year, you told us that the club had fallen short on that side. That was before all of these roster changes, all the front office moves. How do you feel about the Segal dash now?
I feel a lot more encouraged than I did back then. Again, we were in the midst of our worst season in club history. We had moved on from our general manager at that point in time, and we're dealing with moving on with our head coach. And since that time, and I think the last time we spoke, I was preparing to conduct general manager interviews, and I'm very, very pleased with the outcome and bringing Angela in that position. And again, through that process, then bringing in Fabrice and seeing the level of talent that we've brought in this offseason, again, with the likes of Yasmin, with Delaney, and many, many others. I think the club is in a much better state than we were at the start of last year, let alone at the end of last year.
When you took over the Dynamo a few years ago now, is this kind of where you envision to be at coming into the 20th season from an ownership standpoint and where the team is now?
Well, I'm proud that we have made back-to-back playoff appearances, that we've won a trophy, that we've made enhancements around the stadium. But I think, and this is a guiding principle for all of us at the organization, we're never fully satisfied. And so our ultimate goal is to win an MLS Cup, to have the stadium packed on a consistent basis, and to give our fans a great experience. And I think that we're progressing towards all of those goals, but until we're firing on all cylinders, I'll never be fully satisfied.
Couple more?
What's it mean to have Messi in the building here in a couple weeks, or next weekend, I should say, you know, considering that he wasn't here last season with Inter Miami?
It's a huge opportunity. Again, the eyes of the world are going to be on our club and on our city. And so I think for many uninitiated, they will see the Dynamo brand of football. And I think that we have proven that we can go toe-to-toe with any club. I think we will also have a lot of people in the building who have never experienced Shell Energy Stadium, and the atmosphere and the experience that they can have in Shell Energy Stadium is one that they will take away and hopefully keep coming back.
With the roster moves and opening up the checkbook, could you talk a little bit about your willingness to support Pat and Angela as they make these player transitions, and your willingness to invest in the team on the field?
The willingness is always there. It's a collaborative process. I don't go much beyond setting the budget and asking a few soccer novice questions and leave it to them to present the justification for why to bring in a certain player. I think that they've both done a terrific job in doing that, and our relationship is really good, and they have my unequivocal support.
Is the club doing okay financially? We're seeing the departure of a high salary player like VEDA, the selling off of players like Carrasquilla, now Mikael, and we also heard of some staff layoffs in the offseason. Just wondering if you can give us an update on the financial status of the club.
The financial status of the club is sound, and all of those roster decisions that you list had nothing to do with the financial state of the club. We're grateful for the 2.5 years that we had from Hector and the results that he helped deliver. At a certain time, you have to make decisions as to where you want the future of your club to be and what a given player, Hector or not Hector's contribution will be, and how that's balanced against the rest of the roster build. In terms of Coco, this is somebody who had ambitions to move on to other leagues, and we wanted to honor that. And similarly with Mikael, with the type of negotiation that is underway, we wanted to advance him to another league, and I think that sends a few messages. I think that sends that we are the type of club that can develop players and move them on to other leagues. And for clubs that we are in the global marketplace communicating with, they can see that we are an outpost to facilitate a move that can benefit them longer term. So it has nothing to do with the underlying financials of the club. It has everything to do with sporting decisions, honoring some of our players' wishes, and putting the best club together that we can field.
Last question here. Anyone want it?
Can you just briefly talk about the impact that Howard has had in the ownership group and kind of how much does he talk to you in regards to maybe player signings and insights?
It's nice to have a real soccer mind within ownership, somebody who speaks the language of a Pat or an Angela, and so his participation as an owner has been invaluable. We speak incredibly frequently, text all the time, talking about roster decisions. In the hiring of Angela and Fabrice, Tim was right there in every step of the interview process, again, giving us a perspective that we were lacking in terms of that depth of soccer knowledge. And so he's been really helpful in that regard, and then he's a great ambassador to the community as well. This is somebody who has an extremely busy schedule, is really well known around the world, and he's devoted a lot of time to promoting the Dynamo and the Dash and becoming a fixture in this community, and for that I'm really grateful.